there is provision there to finance meetings of the committees. But you recall the Senate Special Select Committee, the time to investigate Social Security. Because that committee was set up, there was a request for a special allocation from the Ministry of Finance to provide the entire financing for that committee to have carried out its mandate. So, on a day-to-day basis, there is financing for the functioning of the standing committees. But if it comes, if it arises that there might be a big investigation and the like, there is the provision to request additional funds to finance that activity.
The second part of when I think about this is the discussion marked by the fear that this will become a detractor from the work of the government in terms of, is that a part of the fear that this will just become a political issue where we'll have all this wrangling back and forth, or you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and back and forth, that it will detract from the work that government is supposed to be doing?
I think you need it. I gave you the example. Our children can't go to school. We can't pay the books to send them to school. I have hundreds lining up that parents can't send their children to school, can't afford to buy a book. They can't even afford to catch the bus to go to school. That's the reality. And we are saying that our economy
is the budget structured to pay for individuals?
Is
that what the budget is?
They are a reflection of reality.
No.
You cannot say that.
My question is, simply put, what the function, the budget, when you're looking at the way the budget is distributed?
We have no control of the budget. So we do not decide what is in the budget and where the money is allocated. That is not our role, that is their role.
But would looking at the budget itself and the way it has been distributed solve the ills that you're talking about?
No, the ills
and
that
would it be a situation where it just becomes political?
No.
You know?
That is where I think you're wrong. And humbly speaking, I think you're wrong.
That's okay.
If you have somebody that is spending your money and you do not check him and negative influences get into his head, he might be tempted to do other things with your money because nobody checks him. You leave him for a while, you find out at the end of the day that your money doesn't go to you at the end, but it goes all to him. It eventually starts from 0 for him to 100% for him, if you do not check him. And this is in the corporate world. In the corporate world, people check what other people are doing. So, for example, you borrow money from the bank to build a house. The bank makes you sign a contract stating that we will do periodic inspections to see if the money is being spent, so that before I give you another payment towards your loan, it is properly done. If at the 50% true, you get 50% of your loan and the bank sends the inspector and finds out that the house is not there, you are sending pictures of a fictitious house. The inspector will therefore write a letter to the bank stating, listen to me, the guy received 50% of a loan, he has not done anything on the building, therefore seize the payment and send an attorney to deal with him. That is, so people know that is the fact. So when you go to the bank, you know that they will check you, so you make sure that you spend the money wisely. It is simply a matter of keeping check. We are not saying that government doesn't have the right to allocate. We are saying after the fact.
No. I get that part. The question, maybe I was not articulating correctly, but how do you propose that the committee would make sure that the monies go where they're supposed to go?
Because
how would that function, especially when we talk about government and the public service being grossly inefficient and bureaucratic and all of that? To add an additional layer to that, that would be marred by perhaps political wranglings of, are you using the money or you're not using the money? How will that improve the functioning of government
You
to
see,
make sure that the budget is used appropriately and expediently.
This proposal is not changing the function of what's there right now. This proposal is just to enhance it, meaning the role of the Auditor General is precisely that. The Auditor General is supposed to go into a ministry and find out if the money is properly spent. That's not our job. Our job is to allow the Auditor General to voice the concern and take it to another level, have commissions of inquiry, where you bring in the Auditor General and you say, Miss Dorothy Bradley, in your report in 2010, you stated that Ministry X, Y, and Z did not give you sufficient information to do your report. Is that true or not? She will say yes. What do you recommend us to do, ma'am? She would say, well, interview the CEO, interview the people in that ministry to find out why. Then you start the investigation as to why. They will tell you, well, government never gave him money, so the computer broke down. Well, no computer fine, son. Where is the ledger? If you didn't put it in the machine, then at least you wrote it on a piece. Well, fire come in and burn up the paper, sir. You understand me what I'm telling you? Then you have to make a decision. It is a legislative decision. You don't have to go to government to ask them permission. You have the power then to prepare your file and send it to the DPP and say, Mr. DPP, it is in our opinion with all this investigation that this and this and this is wrong. You take it from there.
So let me ask another question. By the proposed changes to the Public Accounts Committee, is this something that will create is the hope that, for example, because you talk about the functioning of the Auditor General and what she or he does in that position, and by saying with the change in the Public Accounts Committee, that pressure will be brought to bear on the Auditor General's office to make sure that what they are reporting is, you know...
Well, that's the job. The role is the Auditor General, and the PAC should work like brothers and sisters. The Auditor General is a professional, you know. She is the highest public servant, professional to deal with that. You're not talking about somebody off of the street. You're dealing with a professional.
No, I understand
and
that
we
role.
are just trying to make sure that in her role as that professional, she can execute it objectively and efficiently. That's all we're asking. But the problem in Belize is that people want job, but they don't want work.
No, but I will come back to the argument, I guess, then, is that by setting up the committee or reconstituting the committee, you will bring pressure to bear on the Accountant General. Am I right in that assumption? Auditor General, sorry.
You will allow her to do her job properly.
How will you allow that?
Because then the report that she does, she has the only report that I have witnessed is a report that was tabled for the 2010-2011 budget. That was tabled in the House of Representatives. We have not been able to even discuss that and analyze that because the politicians in government don't want us to do it. That report is the most damning report I have seen, both in the corporate world and in the political world.
And for the very same reason that you spoke of before, you can't be able to decide on an agenda and you can't move forward with the public accounts.
The Auditor General refused to put a signature on the audit report because he said there are so many discrepancies here that we are seriously in problems, and she indicated where the problems were. So she is doing her job. She is a public servant that's doing her job. But she can't take it further.
So my question is, how will fixing this committee solve those issues?
Because you don't have the politicians to block it. PUP can't block it if not a PUP issue. UDP can't block it if not a UDP issue. Because it's in your hands then. It is in the hands of the people to make sure it happens.
So how do you make the committee then independent of political
Well, you can
control?
never become totally independent. Because you can have the 3 members right now presently from the social partners be UDP. That's not a problem.
No, in the proposal, you talk about the dividing of power within the different sectors.
Yeah.
So why not get a totally independent committee that is functioned?
You can't, because this is a committee of the House. So it can only be the House of Representatives or Senate. This is not a committee made out of a layman. It is a House
So it goes back then to whether it's a select Can a select committee then be made up of independent
No.
individuals?
But William,
I'm just asking because...
no, I mean, your question is a fair question. It has worked in other countries. Committees are composed of members of legislatures. In other jurisdictions, public accounts committees are effective. Effective. In Belize, the Public Accounts Committee has failed in its mandate. The idea of having two members from opposition...
Because of the composition.
Of
You
the
are
composition.
saying it is failing because of the composition. It is
Composition.
not able to do anything,
Correct.
essentially,
Excellent.
because it cannot
You cannot
agree on
expect
anything.
that when a
Right.
party is in government, PUP or UDP, that has control of the Public Accounts Committee to check themselves. It is impossible. It has, the history shows it. So why are we playing games at why we could try and make it work? The system is not working for us. We have to change the system.
Well, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier in terms of the maturity of the political
Yes,
leaders
yes.
individually. Because if the members of the Public Accounts Committee who represent the government were fully accepting their responsibility or the role that they have, then they would be able to be a part of the committee and actively engage in what its duties are. Now, your current proposition is to be able to bring in the three non-political members of the Senate. Have you had any conversation with these bodies to
Yeah.
have them lobby along with you to make these changes?
I had meetings with the unions. I had meetings with various sections of the church, because you know that has so many. I have sat with as most of them as I possibly can, including the Catholic Church, including the church, the evangelical churches. I have sat with the business community, and we have discussed this openly. I know we have support for it. The problem with the unions, for example, is that it is difficult for them to really raise up when they are dependent on government for a salary. So it's a bit difficult. They will come along when the time is right. The churches are dealing with another issue right now, so they are a bit focused in what they're looking at. But I guarantee you, if you put a camera and ask any one of their leaders if this is something that they want, let them answer the question. The business community is definitely behind it. Because it is not political. And that is the secret with this whole situation. We are taking politics away from it. I want to get back to that thing that you said with the maturity of our politicians. This is my opinion. I believe we cannot expect that our politicians, including myself, will reach to that level of maturity within the system and the climate in which we operate. We are human beings after all. So, let's put it one step forward. Let's have a system in place that forces us to be mature. It is like in the corporate world or in any world, you have rules and regulations. You follow it and you're fine. And it varies. You know, you got one hard line and you have the gray line, and you can do certain things to be able to achieve them, but you know that at the end of the day, this is where you can go here, this is where you can go here, and that's the final goal. Let's put in a system in place that forces us politicians to do the right thing and not hope and pray to the Lord that we do the right thing, because you take the subjectivity away from it. And that is my fight. Have systems in place whereas we can trust, because Marlene, I'm listening to you and I see that you don't trust politicians and the system.
Well, I was going to interject there that even with stricter regulations, we still see, well, we don't even need stricter regulations. There are currently regulations in place that are broken time after time after time again. And it doesn't matter which party, it happens either way.
But are we willing to leave it so?
No. I don't think that's the case. I want to touch on that because obviously if there is the recomposition of the Public Accounts Committee, this would mean greater accountability for whichever party or whichever government is in place. Have you had the buy-in of your entire party at this time?
This is a decision. What I am doing, I'm representing the People's United Party. This was agreed to at a national executive meeting. This has the full, in fact, everything I do has the full blessing of the Honorable Francis Fonseca. I do not operate in a vacuum. The People's United Party consults. And I am here because the Honorable Francis Fonseca allowed me to be the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, and he believes in what we are doing, and I have his full support. And that is the important thing. It is not Julius Espat pushing this. It is Julius Espat heading it on behalf of Francis Fonseca and the People's United Party. And that is key, because we are true about reform. And we hear the question I asked you, we hear it every day when we are on the ground. When I campaign house to house, the first thing they say, I don't want to hear no politician, because all I want to lie, I want to thief, I want to corrupt. We hear it. Now it is our job to change that mindset. And you can't change it by rhetoric. You have to be real, and you have to put in your time. As a member of the House of Representatives in opposition, I am being paid by the people of Belize to execute my function. You understand me? I am being paid to execute my function. And if I stay back and sit back and ride the wave for 5 years, I am failing you. Even though I am here because of the people of Cayo South, you are paying part of my salary. And that is what I look at. I come from a world where is if they hire you to do something, you do it, and you do it to the best of your ability.
So let's play out the possible scenarios. Let's say there is no change made to the Public Accounts Committee. How do you push forward in being able to ensure that as the chairman, you can still be able to effect some type of reform within the system?
If the Prime Minister is not interested in true reform, then I might have no interest to continue, because I will not be a part of a charade. This is not about me, you know. This is about the Prime Minister, and I am asking him again. Prime Minister, are you happy with the way the Public Accounts Committee has functioned from 1981? Has there been any positive result that that committee has done from 1981? If you are this intelligent person that cares for Belize, then let's work together. If you are saying that there are some irregularities in what we are proposing, then send your man that you train, that knows how you want it well. Send him to us so that we can work together and do it. At the end of the day, he's the boss, you know. So let's do it the way the boss wants. But at the end of the day, let's get the result for the people. If he finds, and he will try to find irregularities and grandstand. What did he say, Conrad? Fire and fury and damnation. Am I right? Close to it? All right. So you see the mindset that we are going into. It is a man that refuses to look at logic. It is a man that is fueled by hate. Please, the Belizean people don't want a leader that is fueled by hate. We want a benevolent leader that we had, like George Price, that cared for the people. That is where we need to go back to. So, your mandate, Prime Minister, from 2008 was accountability and transparency. Any whiff of corruption, I will deal with it swiftly. Fine. We are now giving you the tool, bipartisan tool, with the people of Belize to do the right thing on behalf of the people of Belize. One other point. He said, what was it? Majority rule. So, please, I don't know where Mr. Espat they talk about majority rule in a democracy. Is he saying that the Prime Minister is the majority over the people of Belize? Because it's not the opposition he's fighting here. Look at how it is. Who is present here? The churches, 85% of your population. The unions, 50% of your population. The business community, the next 50% of your population. And a portion of the opposition who had 47.85% of your voting population. That's the majority. So he can't say that majority. If majority rules, Prime Minister, give it to the people. Let the people have the power. Give the power to the people. You know why in the past they didn't educate people? So that they can manipulate you. Remember that concept. You don't educate the masses so that you can manipulate them. We are saying, give them the tools. Educate them. And they will never be manipulated anymore. Power is in the mind. And we have to give the people of Belize power. Or not, we will always be subservient. And that is a real and true thing that the Belizean people have to grasp, hold close to their heart, and hold on to it. Do not allow the politicians, including myself, to manipulate you. Do not allow the politicians to control you. This is not a guided dictatorship. We are in a democracy, and let's exercise it. If he doesn't do it, the next step is the people of Belize will have to decide what they want to take.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for the conversation on the Public Accounts Committee. Of course, this is something that we'll continue to follow through to its end, and to see exactly how or if any compromise is struck in terms of charting a way forward for Belize.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap up, so stay tuned.
Our country.
Our country.
Everybody. Our country.
Our country.
Our country.
Our country. Our country.
Our country.
The Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
The summer is mine.
It's summertime. Time to kick back, relax, and talk for half off. You heard right. Half off. Starting July 17th, all Smart to Smart calls are 50% off. All you have to do is talk for 10 minutes or more during the day, and all Smart to Smart calls between 9 and 12 during the night will be 50% off. So talk away, then talk away some more. Also, check out our new phones at Orange Hot Prices, such as Samsung Chrono 2, LG Rumor Touch, and Huawei Ascend Y. This summer is definitely hot with Smart.
Smart, bringing people together.
Welcome back.
A very extended conversation there about the Public Accounts Committee. And I think very often, because we have all the standing orders and all of that to discuss with regards to the way the House operates, people may not get 100% fully involved in a conversation of this nature. My major thing about it is not whether we believe that politicians are trustworthy or any of that. I think there's always room for us to put check and balances in to make sure that they are. Obviously, wherever you are globally, we know that those check and balances, despite having them fully functioning and being put in place, that you have people who will try and beat the system. You know, it doesn't matter what office they hold. And that's what the check and balances are supposed to do, to make sure that there's a sense of fear that you will do the right things, because there's also a sense that you can be caught and you will be disciplined as a result. But we don't have a history in our short country's history of any politician having to pay the consequences for decisions that were made that go against the public good.
Yeah, I think what is, for me, disheartening is just, I recognize the issues that the Public Accounts Committee has been facing based on what Honorable Espat has mentioned. The issue is simply, there are certain aspects of the Public Accounts Committee that is supposed to function and is, but it's almost like you hire somebody for a job, and they have their terms of reference, but because they're not doing their job, you have to therefore go back and rewrite the entire terms of reference so that they can still do the very same job they were hired to do. And with me, I think fundamentally that is my problem. But if the only way to be able to effect proper accountability will be to change or reconstitute the Public Accounts Committee, then it's something to be explored. But you also run the risk of running into the same problems all over again. So it will be interesting, because the Prime Minister has obviously made up his mind given the interview or the response that we saw in the newscast on Friday. So we'll see where the conversation goes from here. But when it comes to the fact that the country deserves, not even need, the country deserves greater accountability, I think that's where we can all agree at this point.
All right. But that's our show for today. If you have any concerns or comments that you'd like to send our way, don't hesitate to drop us a line at oye@channel5beliefs.com, William_oye@channel5beliefs.com.
And Marlene_OYE@channel5beliefs.com. Thank you very much for joining us. And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes to start your morning right. Until then, have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, Our Country, Your Bank, and Smart, bringing people together.